This is Care That Never Quits, presented to you by Goodwill Staffing.
Welcome back to Care That Never Quits, the podcast from Goodwill Staffing, where we dive into the real lives behind the real care. Every shift, every season, every heartbeat. My name's Shannon, and if you're a nurse, or if you've ever loved one, you already know that today's title is unfortunately accurate. This episode is called Shift Happens, because you can literally save a life and still forget to drink water. You can be the calm in someone else's storm and somehow still feel like you're barely staying afloat in your own. Let's be honest. Work-life balance in nursing? That's a punchline for most days. And today we're going to talk about it. For real. The hard parts, the guilt, the tiny little wins, and how to go from barely surviving to actually being supported. Let me paint a picture for you. You work 12-hour shifts, but they're actually 13 because your relief is stuck in traffic and your patient had a last-minute complication. You know, you can't just leave mid-code. You get home, maybe take your shoes off, and then real life kicks in. Dinner, dishes, daycare pickup, spouses, parents, group texts, a fun meme, a weird ache in your back that you swear wasn't there before. You want to be present, but you also want a nap, a really good snack, and maybe 5 uninterrupted minutes in a Walmart aisle. And friendships? What are those? You've RSVP'd maybe to so many things, your friends now think you're a ghost. This is the juggle. And you're not doing it wrong, but you are living in a system that doesn't leave room to breathe. So let's talk about guilt, because we both know it's there. It's the guilt when you say no to an extra shift. It's the guilt when you finally say yes to a vacation and then you spend the first 2, maybe 3 days wondering who's covering your patients. It's the guilt for feeling tired when you know that other people have it worse. And it's the guilt for wondering, is this still right for me? Most of you start it because nursing is a calling, but it doesn't mean that calling should totally consume you. You're allowed to love your work and still want space from it. You're allowed to set boundaries without being considered a difficult employee. And you're allowed to rest. In fact, you have to rest. The truth is, if you don't make space for your own care, your capacity to care for others shrinks. And that's not weakness. Come on, nurses. That's biology. So no more guilt sandwiches. You deserve better fuel than that. That brings us to one of the most important things to remember: balance. Not the Pinterest perfect version, the real kind. Balance is always going to be a struggle, and it doesn't mean that you have to get everything under control. It means that you know what needs your energy today, and you give yourself grace for what doesn't get done. Sometimes it means that your wins are big, like a successful shift, a very grateful patient. And sometimes they're really small, like finally finishing a cup of coffee while it's still hot. It's not about equal weight. It's about enough. Enough support, enough breaks, enough time to come home and not feel like a ghost in your own life. And that balance, it doesn't happen by accident. That balance happens by design. It may sound like too easy an answer, but trying new hobbies is a good way to refresh yourself. And here's the truth. You're more than your scrubs. Having a life outside your badge isn't selfish. It's survival. Hobbies are where your brain, it gets to breathe. They don't need to be big or Instagram worthy. They just need to be yours. Maybe it's painting. Maybe it's baking, measuring sugar instead of stress. Maybe it's gardening where things grow at their own pace, no codes required. Or maybe it's hiking where no one beeps at you and the only rounds are on a trail. And if you've forgotten what you even look like, that's okay. Start small. Try a puzzle, a dance class. Join a book club and laugh with people who don't talk about vitals. Hobbies will give you permission to exist for your own joy and not just your patient's outcomes. Hobbies reconnect you with your identity. Because while nursing is a beautiful part of you, it's not all of you. You're allowed to have passions that have nothing to do with care plans or call lights. So I encourage you to find your thing and protect your time for it. Schedule it just like a shift and show up for yourself the way that you continuously show up for others. If burnout shrinks your world, hobbies expand it again. And you You deserve a full, beautiful, messy, and meaningful life, inside and outside the hospital. That's where support comes in. And it's not just the thoughts and prayers kind. I mean real, career-sustaining, life-giving support. Support that helps you create space, find growth, and know that you're not stuck. At Goodwill Staffing, we don't just match people with jobs. We match humans with opportunities. And they're based on what you need now and where you want to go next. Flexibility? Yeah, we've got that too. Shift specialties? We can help you plan it. Feeling like you need a fresh start entirely? You're not alone, and we can walk you through it. You deserve more than a paycheck. You deserve to feel seen, to be developed, and to have options that make sense for your life and not just your license. We know that when nurses are supported, patients get better care, teams get stronger, and maybe, just maybe, you'll get more hot cups of coffee. So if you're feeling stretched thin, let me say this. You're not doing it wrong. You're doing your best. And it's okay if your best looks different this week than it did last week. You're not a machine. You're a masterpiece, one that needs maintenance, hydration, and maybe a vent session in the break room. Take your time. Take the space. And if you need help, we're here. At Goodwill Staffing, we don't just understand your shift. We've lived it. We're nurses too. We speak your language, and we're building the kind of support we wish we had when shift happened to us. Thanks for listening to Care That Never Quits. I'm Shannon, and until next time, keep showing up with heart, and don't forget to drink your water.